What do you think of the business climate in the state of Connecticut right now? There's been a lot of discussion about how Connecticut is thought of in terms of being business friendly, et cetera, et cetera. So as a member of the Appropriations Committee, how do you feel about the budget, the spending, and its effect on attracting and keeping businesses in the state?
You know, Jim, I might actually surprise you, but I actually feel very encouraged about the business climate. I mean, I think we're at the point right now where we're actually looking at growing. It's rather dynamic. Bloomberg Business today said that Connecticut is in the top 5 of the most innovative states for business. So, you know, we're seeing right now, we're at an all-time low for unemployment rates. We're right at 5.1%, where national is down to 5. It's the lowest we've been since 2008. The private market jobs have fully recovered since the recession. So we're actually in a good place. I know there's fortunately been a lot of talk that would lead you to believe otherwise, especially around companies like GE, for instance. But what I'm finding is it's somewhat unfortunate, because there are indicators that it's not as bad as it is, but the press and organizations like CBIA are putting it out there that it's worse than it is.
Okay, excuse me for interrupting. Let's talk about perception versus reality.
Sure.
Because, you know, if I had CBIA and a chief economist in here, which I'm going to have the next hour, right? If I had them here, they would cite statistics that indicate you're wrong, as you wouldn't cite statistics that indicate so are you. So I'm not interested in that standoff, because anybody can pick statistics that they want to. However, some of the statistics that you have mentioned are good ones, Dante, right? But let's deal with perception, right?
Sure.
Are you saying that the perception of a lot of people, including businesses in the state of Connecticut, and quite frankly, as a traveler around the country, that other people have of Connecticut are all wrong?
I think the perception that Connecticut is bad for business is wrong, and I think it's being perpetuated by the types of organizations that I mentioned. So, for instance, we keep hearing GE is going to leave because it's about business taxes. GE actually just bought Alstom and increased their presence in Connecticut in Windsor on November 2nd. It was very hard to find in the newspaper. As a matter of fact, there was a teeny little blurb in the Hartford Courant, a teeny little thing with the AP, was in the Wall Street Journal. It has not been talked about. That's 1,100 employees in Alstom, and GE increasing their presence in the state of Connecticut. And if you look on the website of, for instance, CBIA, because it's their business to lobby for businesses, you can find, I think it's like 176 references to General Electric, most of which are about the fact that they had considered moving their headquarters, but there's 0 references to Alstom. So I would like to be perpetuating the positives about the growth, of the change, and the positives in Connecticut, and that's a big one.
Okay, let's have a slight agreement to disagree.
Okay,
While
sure.
I do agree with you that the media, for want of a better word, the media has a propensity to display bad news. There's no question about it, Dante, right? I guess where I disagree with you is that among all the news that I read and all the things that I see and hear as a business person, somewhere in the middle is probably the right answer. I'm not from the school that says that the whole world is falling apart. I'm not from the school, however, that says everything is a bed of roses, because it really isn't. It really is not. So let's talk about some of the things that you've been involved with, all right?
Great.
But before I leave the Appropriations Committee, one other comment about the budget. Did you vote for this budget?
I did not. I voted for the June budget. I did not vote for the deficit mitigation in December. I voted against it, I should say.
Okay, and the reason you voted against it was?
The reason I voted against it is because in June, when I did vote on that budget, we were voting on a budget that was created on assumptions that I believe to be true. Regardless of why they didn't come to be, many of them did not come to be. On top of that budget and those assumptions, we were funding new initiatives. For instance, the Governor's Transportation Initiative, brand new total initiatives. We also were able and successful, after lots of fighting and negotiating, to continue to keep our safety net intact and to fund social services and such, and Medicaid. What happened in December is that when the assumptions didn't come to be true, when we realized that the revenues were not there that were expected, the decision was made to continue the new programs, the infrastructure program, at the same level, and yet cut the social service program, so $34 million in Medicaid. If we had suspended the implementation of the transportation initiative, we'd be saving $16.25 million a month. That's $210 million in a year. If we just postponed it 1 year, it's
Okay.
important, we
So,
need
Dante,
it, but
what you're-
that much that
What
fast
you're saying
sacrifice
is,
public service.
what you're saying is, at this moment in time, you came down on the side of the social services thing, which you
Absolutely,
self-admittedly have a passion for, right?
Yes.
And you're saying this thing that you're talking about that's 10 or 15 years out that costs $100 billion, come on, in this particular year,
Go a little slower.
we can go a little slower. That's essentially what you're saying. But I guess, Dante, let me just make this editorial point, right? We both know as we're sitting here that when you go into session, I mean, assuming your reelection, because you're running again this year.
Absolutely.
Good luck, Dante. Good luck. I really mean that. So listen, if you get reelected, you're going to wind up sitting there. And Dante, the projection right now is another $1 billion in the next year and another $1.3 billion the year after that. So in the next biennial, we're looking at potentially another $2 billion shortfall. You're not suggesting that Dante Bartolomeo is going to go up there at the beginning of the next year and vote for the third largest tax increase, are you?
Well, first of all, I didn't vote for the first one. I wasn't even in. And
you weren't in office.
I wasn't in office. And I'm not going to speculate on any, future votes. What I can tell you is that my reasons are, I stay committed and strong to my reasons that we don't need to have this Herculean effort all at once, all or nothing. So we are sacrificing $34 million cut to Medicaid in that budget, knowing we were told that we're going to have to do more in November, in February. And since then, there have been more rescissions. So all of that for a brand new yet worthy initiative, I think we need moderation.
Okay.